Dr. Baker, and I'm an anatomist and health scientist, and I've spent a lot of years dissecting humans. A few years ago I was out in California and I was able to visit an exhibition of some of the rock stars of the last 40-50 years, people like the Rolling Stones, Bob Dylan, the Beatles, Neil Young, Pink Floyd. And the photos were all taken in the 60s and 70s when they were young men, you know, the kind of pose around the pool, shirts off, smoking cigarettes, looking cool. But what struck me as something that was missing was that hardly any of them had tattoos. There was hardly a tattoo between them. Now, in recent years, tattoos have become hugely popular. Everybody's got one, and I've got a couple. But there's not always a huge amount of understanding as to what's going on. And somebody recently suggested that tattoos can get into the fascia, which is, you know, not true. But there's also the suggestion that the tattooing can get into the lymph nodes, which is less nonsense, but not as scary as it sounds. Let's get into it and have a little look. I'm going to be showing you a dissection of a tattoo, but I wanted to cover some skin groundwork, if you like, before we get going. I'm going to make this video in two parts. Part one is the part where we're going to have the theory around the skin and where the tattoo ink stays, and then the next one is going to show you the dissection of the tattoo itself. The reason for this is that YouTube censor any of my dissection videos. They say that they are not suitable for the general public, and so therefore they don't allow advertisements, and so therefore they just don't get put into the algorithm. It's a weird thing. So any of my videos that have got dissection in, you know, I get 25 or 30 views on them sometimes, and then others that haven't, or they've slipped under YouTube's radar, you know, you get 4,000. So it's a weird thing, and not much I can do about it. But please, if you do want to see the dissection, then head on for the next video, part two. Now, tattoos live in a surprisingly narrow bit of skin real estate. The ink isn't parked in the surface layers that slough off each sort of week by week. It sits deeper in the sort of upper mid-dermis of the skin, and that's the magic trick that allows tattoos to stay around while the rest of your skin gradually renews itself like a conveyor belt. So if we have a little look at the different skin layers before we start, but before we start that, then a word about layers, which isn't a great word. When I say the word layer, it's not like the body is a Black Forest gatto, but it is a convenient way of talking about organisation. So instead of thinking of cake slices, think of zones of changing cell type, of changing density, hydration, amount of blood supply that's to them, and so on and so forth. In cellular terms, a layer is just a specific region where there's a majority of a cell type, or where these cells are performing a specific action, or perhaps where they're all arranged in a certain way. The layers don't begin and end in a specific place, but sort of transition and merge with each other into the next region. You know, think of gradients rather than straight lines, kind of like, you know, imagine brushes of the bristles of a brush put together. So what makes a layer a layer? And there are three key elements to think about as far as the skin is concerned. You've got the cellular identity, which is, you know, different cells dominate each of those regions of the skin, and the different parts of the dermis and the epidermis have different cellular things going on. And then you've got this extracellular matrix, the structure of it. So each of these regions has a different type of density of collagen, elastin, different amounts of hydration, and different behaviors as well. And then we've got different functions to each of these layers. You know, you've got the immune system elements to it. You've got a change of nutrients in the blood supply. You've got energy storage. So each of these zones has different jobs and different functions, and we'll understand about why this matters for tattoos shortly. But essentially, a tattoo doesn't sit in a single flat plane, but more within a zone. The tattoo pigment is distributed across the region, particularly within cells called macrophages, and it occupies more of a depth than a line. So this is why tattoos will blur over many, many years, not because they move upward, but because the structure of the skin shifts and remodels and relaxes with age and sun exposure and you know, different types of mechanical load to the body. So let's get in first and have a little map of the skin landscape that we talked about. So we've got these we've got basically 5 layers depending on where you are, but we're going to concentrate on 4, going from outside to inside. So the first layer is something called the stratum corneum, and it's a dead cell layer of keratin flakes, and it sheds constantly in it, and it's completely replaced every 4 to 6 weeks. It's the layer that sort of peels away in sunburn, or the layer that if you use a body brush in the sunshine, you see the dust come off you. Then we have the layer called the stratum lucidum, and this is mainly only found on the palms and the feet, on the thick skin, and it's not a popular place for tattoos, so we're going to leave that one alone for the moment. And then we have the stratum granulosum, and to think of G, we're going to come back to a way of remembering it. And this is a very thin layer, and it's got lots of keratin-filled cells which are granular, hence the name, the granulosum. Keratin is a really important and strong protein, and it creates this tough barrier for the main outer layer of the skin. You can also find keratin in nails and hair, and it plays a really important part in wound healing as well. Next layer down we have the stratum spinosum, or prickly layer, and it's got a bunch of spiny looking connections, and those are created by the way that specialist cells bolt things together. And if you want to find out more, then look at the word desmosomal. I'll put it in the description to find out more. The final layer, the fifth layer, the basement layer, if you like, is called the stratum basale, and this is the reproductive engine of the skin. Cells divide here and migrate upwards, becoming the layers above, eventually flaking off at the surface of the skin, as we've already described. Now, none of these layers or these areas is where tattoo ink ends up. We're still not there. And if it were, then your tattoo would just disappear like the school borough drawing on your skin that you did when you were bored in class, and it would just go after a few showers. So you remember the layers, if you're inclined to, by applying the somewhat ironic mnemonic of come, let's get sunburned. So all the way down to the B. The dermis lives beneath all of these layers, and that's where tattoos live, and ink is injected through the epidermis into the upper, roughly the reticular dermis, sort of think 1.5 to 2.5 millimeters deep. And the ink particles provide a sort of quite a mild inflammatory response. And without getting into too much detail, what happens to happen in terms of inflammation is that these cells called macrophages come along in, and they kind of swallow the pigment granules and then just sort of sit there like housekeepers who never leave. Some pigment sort of remains extracellular, it's trapped sort of within the collagen, but because the tattoo doesn't sit in a single flat pane and sits within a zone of the dermis, in that zone it has collagen, elastin fibers, fibroblast immune system cells, and so on and so forth. It's constantly coming and going, if you like. So that's why tattoos persist. Only the cells above are constantly turning over. The dermis doesn't shed its layer in the same conveyor belt fashion as the epidermis does, and so therefore your tattoos have got a better chance of sticking around for longer. So what about the lymph node elements? Is there any evidence that tattoo particles can appear in lymph nodes? And the answer is yes. So tiny pigment particles can be transported via lymphatic drainage, and we've had research that says that black carbon base and colour pigments can appear in regional lymph nodes. Now, it's generally seen in post-mortem or during surgery, particularly cancer surgery, where surgeons are removing lymph nodes and they think, oh, there's metastatic cancer, but actually it turns out to be ink pigment. However, it doesn't mean that seeing ink in an area means that there's toxicity present. There's a big step from there is pigment to there is pathology, and it isn't supported by the evidence. There's been speculation that sometimes it could be, there's some damage to it, but the evidence just isn't there. So the lymph system is clearing up debris all the time. That's what it does. It's a very efficient way of picking stuff up and dumping it, and it will stain in certain areas, much in the same way that a lot of colourings will stay. The body is a master at tidying mess. It takes the ink, it files it neatly away in cells, and it sort of leaves the artwork on display, which is quite an efficient system, if you like. So in summary, the tattoos stick around because they're not part of that conveyor belt of cells changing themselves around and rising to the surface, and that they can be seen, as far as the ink is concerned, in lymph nodes, but it doesn't mean to say that there is any degree of toxicity present.